Hi everybody, welcome to another update on Stock Screener. Today we're going to talk about the candy store again. Time for an update. So let's start with it. First one, Frontline. I still think that we are in a bull market with tankers. Oil demand is going up. Supply is also going up in oil. So we need tankers, and there are not a lot of tankers. So you can see that it has gone down, but it's moving up again. I think it will keep on moving higher. PE is indeed around 5 right now, so they will do very well. But I sold the tankers because I saw 2 OPEC cuts. So OPEC cuts are not good for tankers. It tells me that the demand is not as high as I thought. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any OPEC cuts. So, I mean, this is a good stock to hold for now, maybe for 1 or 2 years. But later on, when we move away from oil, tankers will not be doing that well. So this is a temporary trade for me, and I'm out of it. So that goes for Frontline and Ardmore Shipping. Both are pretty good companies, but I don't want them anymore. Then let's go to the next one. Let's use Cidara Therapeutics. Cidara Therapeutics, that was just a lottery ticket. It didn't work out. Still waiting for the results for the other trials, but I sold it. You could wait for the results, but yeah, isn't doing anything right now. Better to sell it. Then we have Paltalk. That's the next lottery ticket that I'm holding. Just a small position for fun. In a few weeks, we will see if they are going to win or lose in the trial. If they win, then this could shoot up real fast, double, triple. If they lose, then it will drop by 50%. So it's just a gamble on the trial with Cisco, and we will see what happens. I intend to hold it until the trial. Then we have Deep South Resources, very undervalued. It's worth billions in NPV, and it's only trading at 10 million right now. So you could hold it for a long time, very cheap. But the problem that I have with this company is you are depending on investor sentiment, completely dependent on investor sentiment. If nobody wants to buy it, then this will just stay at this level and dilute itself to zero. So that's the problem. If you don't have cash flow, you have a problem. So I prefer to buy companies with cash flow so that they can increase their balance sheet, increase value. And this is too dependent on investor sentiment. So I sold Deep South Resources. They did have good news. License will probably get renewed, but the news is already out. So that's why I think it won't have any effect on the share price anymore because it's a sell the news event. So this one is sold. Next one, Avricore Health. Yeah, this one was a disaster, but luckily I sold right at the earnings release here, right somewhere here. So I was online, luckily, and I saw the earnings and they were not good. So let's explain this. Last quarter we had 1.7 revenue, 1.7 million, and this quarter we had only 600,000. So that's about one third of the revenue of last quarter. So that's not good. And let's just do some calculation. We have 1.7 million last quarter. So some of that is probably going to be system fee. So just delete 200,000 from that. So 1.5 million. And if you divide that by the amount of tests, yeah, probably a test is about $25. So divide by $25, divide by 90 days in that quarter, then you have around 666 tests in all the stores. So let's say they bought all of these tests. So they didn't sell any tests this quarter because it's only 600,000 revenue. That's not a lot. So they probably didn't sell any extra tests. So that means that all of these tests were not used up if they bought it in Q4. So what's that? If you divide by 400, divide it by 450 locations, then you have about one and a half tests per location per store, right? That's 1.5. So less than 1.5. Now look at the projections. The projections tell me that we should have 2 tests per day per store. So we are actually below the lowest estimate, below the 2. Also the stores, 930, we are not at 930 right now. We are at 530. So that's also half of the projection. So if you do that double, then you have a quadruple less earnings. Not only have you have half the stores, you also have half the patients of the lowest estimate. So we are nowhere near the promises that were made. So not good. No international expansion as well. They promised Q1, then Q2, and now it's probably Q4 or next year, I don't know. But we are not hitting the targets. So this one is deleted. Then we come to, let's take Prospera Energy. Prospera Energy, I said that this was fair value for this year. I still think this is fair value for this year. But we need to know what oil is going to do. That's the most difficult question. Is oil going to go up or down? It looks like it's starting to bottom out. So we could have a bounce and then it could go lower because we are still going to have a recession. I don't think we will go to 90, 100 anymore. So that upside is gone. Probably we will stay at around 70. I did have a slide on this. So let's take a look at this chart. We are now going to Q3 of 2023, and which is the largest deficit, supposedly. So we should see oil start to move higher in the next 2 to 3 months. And then from that point in time, we will go back into surplus by next year. That's not good. So the outlook here tells me that we will have a bounce and then we will go lower until next year. So it isn't looking that good. So if in the coming months we don't get a bounce, then we have a real problem. We have a real problem in oil. And it doesn't look like we are getting that bounce. Could go to 75 and then drop to 60. And Prospera Energy at $60-70, that's not going to be fun. I still own some Prospera, but I have sold quite a bunch. So currently we are at 80 WCS for Canada. Could go up, down here in this range, 75. And probably when we have a recession, then we could go even lower to the 70 level. I mean, for this year, there is not a lot of upsides. So this is the line for this year, 2023. For next year, there could be upsides if they drill good holes, but that's a big if. We will see. We will see if they can hit these targets, 2,500 barrels per day. If they can hit that, then of course there's a double possible by next year. For this year, I don't expect to see a double. They will maximum go to, let's say, maybe they could go to 2,000. See, and then we still are fair value. So I don't see a lot of upside for this year. So I had hoped for oil to go up much more than this, to the $90, 85. Instead, we are still at 72 and probably hover around 70. Look at this. This is from Citigroup. WTI is expected to go to 80 in the coming months, and that's the top. Then it goes back to 74, 73, 70, and then to 65. So I don't like this. I don't like this trend going lower in oil. So that's why I reduced my position. Also, this is important. This is a chart on the yield curve inversions. We are very inverted right now. And historically, this tells us that jobless claims will go up. In Q1 next year, we are going to hit that jump in initial claims, and a recession will come. That's typically not good for oil. So, yeah, that's Prospera Energy. I still hold it, but I'm not that optimistic anymore based on the oil price. Still hold it though. Next one is Trigon Metals. Yeah, this one is a copper play. They are in production, so they're mining, and looks like it wants to go higher. I still think this is undervalued. For this, we need to look at the copper price. I'm bullish copper. Of course, a recession could hit next year. which could weaken copper a bit, but in the long run, this trend looks to go higher. I expect $5 in the coming years. When we just go to the copper checklist, there's one chart I want to show, and that's this chart, which is global copper inventories. As this goes down, then copper will rise. And we are going down. The inventories are going lower, which means there's more demand than supply. So that's why inventories go down. And if this drops faster than last year, that's bullish. So keep watching this. This is looking very good for copper. And it's also exactly what Goldman Sachs forecasted. We are currently here. So watch this trend. If this continues down, then copper is looking good. On the short term, though, we could have an overbought condition here. So we could go down a bit like this and then move higher. Because there's plenty of scrap available. And the Chinese probably think that 3.8 is a pretty high price for copper. They won't buy a lot of copper at this price. But of course, in the long run, copper demand can only go up. On the valuations, Trigon Metals is pretty cheap at current copper price. So this is the market cap. We have upsides of double, triple, quadruple, but you need to wait a year or two because they are not in production yet. It will take a year or two to get the underground in production. But let's say we get to 5 copper, then this is currently the market cap. And you can see how much upside there is at 5 copper. So that's, let's say, 40 million market cap. It could easily go 5x, 10x in the long run if they get in full production at 5 copper. Even at 4 copper, there is upside. But of course, you need to wait at least 2 years for this to happen because they're still ramping up production. Then the last one is Soma Gold. Has not done too well, but there's a reason for that. So what happened? So in May here at the top, there was an investor that wanted to sell all his shares. And that investor kept selling and selling while I was buying and buying. And now here you can see that there was a block sale right here. So that investor is now gone. So we got a block sale between that investor that wanted to go out and a current investor that has bought all of these shares. So the selling pressure is now gone. And that means that the price can only go higher. Of course, it also depends on the gold price. And the gold price is pretty weak at this time. Could have a bounce and then go a bit lower. And then if we go to the recession by the end of the year, then it should move higher again, above 2000. So I still think that gold will go to 2000 and above. And this is a buying opportunity. Trend should do like this, go back to all-time highs. So this is the largest position. Let's look at the fundamentals. So currently 1920 gold, still upside. We are at 40 million market cap, do a 4 times EBITDA on that, and we should be somewhere here, right? So the upside is still more than a double. Based on EBITDA, based on free cash flow, we are currently here, and the upside is from 50 to 200 to 100. So let's say easy double to a triple based on free cash flow, 5 times free cash flow, and based on net income, where we deduct the taxes, we are currently here, 50 million market cap going to above 100. So more than a double based on net income, 5 times. So it's looking very well. Their production is rising, and we should see more drill results as well on their new properties and on the Cordero mine. So production is only going to rise by the end of the year. As news comes out, I expect Soma Gold to rise as well. Of course, I don't know what gold will be doing, but I think it's going higher. And in 2 weeks, I will give another update on the gold forecast index. Basically, the thesis is that we are going to go in a recession, and that's positive for gold. Central banks are still buying. We are still inverted in the yield curve. Everyone is bearish on gold, so that means it can only become bullish. We know that unemployment is going to rise by Q1 of next year, so we are positioned for that. We are in July, ready to shoot up seasonally. We have Charles Nenner telling us that we have bottomed. So we are currently 21 June, so that's about here. We are at the bottom. We will rise until 10 July, probably 10 July. So in the coming weeks, we should see gold go higher. Debt is rising. Near-term forward spread is still negative, so at some point this will move back up and gold should break out. Watch this curve. That's the most important. If the Fed starts to pause rate hikes, then gold will go higher. So watch this trend here. This here. The 10 market, yeah, the 2-year treasury. If the 2-year treasury goes down, then the Fed needs to follow that down with rate cuts. So watch this Bordeaux colored line. It needs to fall. Okay. So that was the update. Only 4 stocks and mostly in gold. You can also buy other gold miners, but I think this one is the best. We have some copper for the long term, and I still like oil, but I don't see a lot of upside. Forget about 100 oil, it's not going to happen this year, and maybe also next year. The thing is that there is a lot of supply coming online. We have Brazil, we have Iran, we have Yemen, we have Nigeria, we still have Russia. A lot of supply coming on. The shale producers are still increasing production. So yeah, demand is there, but supply is equally there. So this will probably just hover around here and do nothing. So we depend completely on the drill results for Prospera Energy. Let's hope that they are good. So that was it. I will see you in the next video.